Welcome to another episode of the Piano Ninja Tricks podcast. Hi, I'm Lisa Spector, your piano ninja, here to make everything easier for you at the piano so you feel like a piano ninja. It's July 4th week, and I'm in California, and we're celebrating the holiday with Sunday, ending the week Sunday night with Red, White, and Rhapsody in Blue right here on YouTube Live. And of course, I'm going to be playing the beautiful Rhapsody in Blue, but also I'm going to be playing music of my beloved Amy Beach, the first American female composer, and also music arrangements of my Juilliard professor Earl Wild, of some of his Gershwin Wild virtuoso etudes, including The Man I Love for Left Hand Only. So hope you can join us. Link below to join us live. And if you've been to any of my lives, I always give away great prizes. So join live and look forward to seeing you there. So in the meantime, I am going to be talking about the music of Amy Beach. And this piece is an early work called Dreaming. Amy Beach was born in 1867 in the New England states, and she was just a little bit of a background if you already don't know it. Just was born a genius with an incredible ear. She was writing music before she could write English. So she would actually write music that was in particular keys. This piece is in blue, and that's in yellow, and that's in purple. And it wasn't later till her parents realized, oh, each color had a particular key. And she grew up with such an incredible ear that she would go to the premiere of Dvorak New World Symphony. This is in the late 1800s, and would go home and write out the whole thing. Her ear was so incredible that she taught herself counterpoint when she was told she couldn't get a music education because women weren't meant to be composers. Women didn't have the intellect, the emotional capacity. Can you imagine? The intellect, the emotional capacity, or the physical stamina to write big scale musics. Well, she proved them wrong by writing a mass and a symphony and a huge piano concerto and large chamber music works, and all just so gorgeous. So check out her music. And the music that I'm going to be playing for you on Sunday night for Red, White, and Rhapsody in Blue and other American favorites is Dreaming. Is the number 3 of a set of pieces from Opus 15 sketches. So the reason I bring you that today is I want to talk about how to keep inner notes really soft when your outer notes are playing the melody. And that's what this piece is all about, so that it sounds like very dreamy. I think it has a little bit of a French impressionistic inspiration, and she did spend later on in her life, after her husband passed away, she spent quite a bit of many years in France, and at that point was very much influenced by French music. It's so beautiful, and it's aptly titled Dreaming because it sounds like dreaming. So how would I work on this? So there's all of these inner notes, and in the meantime the melody's out here. It is a hot day here, and these are all going away. Okay. So, the first thing always, and I've talked about this here before, is I would play the melody by itself. So there's 2 ways to play a melody by itself. The first is playing it with your ideal fingering, as if you didn't have all the notes underneath. So I'm going to do that first. So if I just had this melody by itself, I'd use the center of the hand. It's very balanced for that long first B flat. And shaping those phrases sort of the A flat. And then less at the end of the phrase. Going to the highest note I've had so far, up to the G flat. So again, this is my ideal fingering that echoes, and then it changes a little bit. So now I can do that same thing, but I don't want to do that too many times. The reason why, the purpose of doing it with your ideal fingering is I am planting it in my ear, how I want it to sound. It is not to get it in my body at all. The next thing helps get it in my body, which is the fingering I would use, which is more awkward because now I'm going to have to use mostly outer fingers so that I have room to play. You're going to hear all these inner soft notes coming up in a little bit. So in the meantime, what fingering would I do? I no longer have the advantage of using 3, which is center of the hand. It's very balanced. I have to use 5 because I'm going to be reaching all these notes underneath it. So I have the 5. I'm trying to make it sound exactly how I just sounded it when I had an ideal fingering. And this is awkward, but this is what I have to do if I had all the other notes. I'm changing fingering because I have to if I have all the other notes to play. You'll see in a second. So the main thing I want you to get is that is a little bit of an awkward fingering. I would never do that if I had that melody by itself, but I have to do it because I have to make room for these. I only have 5 fingers, so I have to make room for these other notes underneath. So now comes the more challenging part, which is how do I keep this under voice when there's so many notes, this continuous triplets, this whole piece? How do I make them soft and in the background so you don't notice them, so that melody comes above that? So I want to do that through control. And control means the slower I press a note, a key, the softer it is going to play. So, but I have a lot of fast notes. So I am not doing, I'm going to show you with my left hand because it'll be easier for you to see. I'm not doing this because then I don't have much control. I want to stay as close to the keys. I don't want to come off at all unless I have to travel to move. I don't want to have any space here where I'm lifting at all. I'm just very, very close. And it starts with the right hand. I can do the same thing with the right hand. It's very still. I just want it total background. And then when I'm going to do this under voice by itself. So it's a little tricky. You can't completely do the under voice by itself because the right hand has the melody notes with it. So I'm going to first do the left hand by itself, which I do have some bass notes in here, but I could also play those by themselves also. So I'm working on complete control. Even when I have to reach, I'm getting there early. That's using quick reflex motion. We talked about that in episode 3, I believe it was. And so forth. Then I'm going to add the right hand. This is a piece. If it was a different piece of music, I would add all of the undervoice and then add the melody. I can't really do that with the right hand because the right hand has the inner. I'd have to kind of change the rhythm, and I don't want to do that. Rhythm is always foundation. It comes first. So I'm playing the under voice with the melody this time in the right hand, starting with 2 measures again of just background, very controlled and close to the keys. Now, if I were learning this, I feel like I took 2 steps and put them together. And if you've been with me a while, you know that to do one thing at a time for your fastest results. So I actually wouldn't do what I just did. I would actually do left hand, do quite a bit of left hand alone, then add your right hand to it. So what I'm listening for is a lot of things at once. If I were practicing, this is what I tell my students. When we have a lesson, I condense time. I give them a lot of information to work with. The last thing I want them to do is go home and work on those 6 things all at once. That's what will slow you down. So when you're working on a piece of music that has an inner voice like this, work on one thing at a time. Because of condensing time, I'm adding multiples at once. So now I am continuing on, but what I'm focusing on is inner voice stays really close. My melody, I'm emulating, I'm copying what I did when it was easier and I just had the voice by itself. And let me go on from there. Now this is a little bit of a different animal here. So now I get into some other complexities. So I'm going to practice this by itself, again, staying really close with my left hand. I'm not moving very much, but it's slightly detached. So it's a little bit of a different touch than when I was playing into the keys and not moving at all. Same thing in my right hand, but it's double notes, and I'm going to go a little slower with quick reflex motion. So I get there early. Again, in this podcast, I'm condensing the time. If I were practicing it, I would do a little bit of that at a time. I would do probably to there, and then bop, 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 bum, and then put those together and so forth. Now, going on to the next section, it's pretty much the same material, but it just keeps building and building. So I'll talk my way through this. A little more bass now. Taking big ricercando. So it's getting a little more complex. It's forte, but I'm keeping the inner voice more like mezzo forte. And I think you're going to see it's going to have more contrast and dynamics coming up. And I would have practiced this by itself. Now I have a little more of the bass coming in because sometimes the bass is, like in this case, a half note. In other cases, it's just a triplet, an eighth part of the triplet. I want that melody to come out. Echo with a pianissimo. Leave time for the color change. I love that part, and I just want to bring attention to that. That's a different trick, but it's so important and it's so easy. It's when you're going from a louder sound to a really soft pianissimo like that, your ear needs a second to adjust. So leave a little space in the music. I'm gonna play it again for you, and you'll hear. I don't want to just play that right in tempo. I'm not doing ritardando, but I'm just giving it a little breath before the pianissimo so that your ear adjusts to that. Keeping the inner voice really close to the keys. I want to talk a little bit about the left hand here because now we get into some new things that are a little more challenging. So I practice this with a ton of quick reflex motion, which in Cliff Notes means moving fast but playing slow so that my hand knows exactly where to go. Because it's big jumps and I have a lot going on with a lot of, we've talked about rich, full, round chords. This is where I'd use that in the right hand. Gradually lifting the pedal so I have gradual clarity. It's so beautiful. I hate to stop, but you're going to hear the whole thing on the YouTube Live straight through. But I just want to mention a couple things. I am leaving out some of the inner notes in this because my recovery hand after my 4 surgeries, my accident, my fall, and all the things, my motto is screw perfect, make music. I'm not going to not play the music because I can't reach all of those notes. I'm just going to leave out the notes that would strain my hand and make it too difficult. And I don't think Amy would mind. So I'm going to go back into that beautiful note, that fermata note by itself, and then I'll continue on. You'll hear that in its entirety played through without me talking during the YouTube Live, Red, White, and Rhapsody in Blue, Sunday night, July 7th. And also I'll be adding a work by a present-day American composer. If you haven't heard his name, you will. He's going to be a big name, Zach Goluboff Davis. I'll play a piece that was written for me by him. He's fabulous. So join us Sunday night on YouTube Live, and can't wait to share all this beautiful American music with you then. I am going to sign off here. So thanks for listening. I'll be back next week after the YouTube Live. I'll be back next week for another episode. Thanks so much for listening. I'm Lisa Spector, your piano ninja.